What's going on, guys? Welcome to Yankees in 10, brought to you by Mike and V Sports Talk. An absolute thriller last night against the Nationals in a series that we didn't think was going to be pivotal at all going into this season, but here we are. After the Yankees struggling over these last 2 to 3 weeks, they come in, play at Nationals Park, go down late, and then Jazz Chisholm and Austin Wells power them ahead to give them a 5-3 victory. This is Yankees in 10, brought to you by Mike and V Sports Talk. So a wild game last night as the Yankees go ahead 1-0 in the first inning on a Ben Rice home run. Good to see him getting back into his groove and starting to find the barrel again. He was having a rough go of it, like every Yankee was recently. But he's finally starting to be the Ben Rice that we saw those first 2 months of the season, putting hard contact out there just routinely every plate appearance. So great to see him moving in the right direction as far as his at-bats. And then obviously Jason Dominguez as well. His fielding has really been lacking ever since he came up again, but he's hitting the ball well, obviously gives the Yankees the lead again, making it 2-1 with his home run. And then Tim Hill falters a little bit later in the game there, giving up back-to-back home runs to the Nationals. James Wood obviously goes deep, great player, but you hate to see it. And that puts the Yankees in a hole down 3-2. But then in the ninth inning, once again, Jason Dominguez comes up, gets a hit to lead off the inning, and then you got Jazz Chisholm. High fly ball down the right field line, stays fair, goes out of the park, gives the Yankees a lead, and then Austin Wells, who would have thought, with the insurance run, you love to see it from a guy who's been hitting absolutely brutal. But hey, do what you got to do, man, and maybe play your way back into this lineup, and hopefully the Yankees don't have to make a move. I still think they should, but hopefully they don't have to. As far as this game goes for me, there's a couple things that I want to highlight. Obviously, that was the recap there. The starting pitching has been absolutely phenomenal for the Yankees so far. Hopefully it can continue because this season, during this stretch where the Yankees offense wasn't hitting, they were somehow still in these games, and it's all a credit to the starting pitching, right? Whether the bullpen would blow a game late or the offense wouldn't hit or errors would be made, the starting pitching has been the best part of this team, and I still think that's going to be the strength for this team going into the postseason, hopefully. Obviously, with Aaron Judge being injured, you're not necessarily going to be able to rely on that bat now for almost half the season, depending on when he's going to come back. So you have to then look at what are your strengths as a team. Cam Schlittler, Garrett Cole, Max Fried when he comes back, Rodon hopefully. Even Ryan Weathers puts together a decent performance every once in a while. I think he's a bullpen arm, but let's leave that. Will Warren, who's up and down, right? They have pretty elite starting pitching. When you compare it to the rest of the teams in the American League, and honestly the rest of the teams in the league, I'd say they have a top 5 starting staff easily. So play to your strengths, right? Have those guys pitch well, and I think that's why it's so important that you go and get bullpen pieces at the deadline to kind of bolster up this back line, because yeah, you trust Bednar, but not really fully. Tim Hill, who you really trust, hasn't been great, obviously giving up the 2 home runs yesterday. So who are you going to be able to go to in those situations? It's not going to be Doval. We don't want him anymore. Hedrick's had a good little bit of a stretch, but that's up and down. He sometimes gives up a lot of runs, and then he'll go on these scoreless inning stretches. So again, who are you going to be able to trust? So make a move, make 3 moves, make 5 moves. I don't know. You got to bring in people. They did this last year where they brought in a bunch of people, Doval, Bednar, and Jake Bird. And really, Bednar is the only one who panned out. But, we were excited to see them make those moves because how often the bullpen was struggling last year. It's not at that point yet, but I still think they need to make moves in order to bolster it, in order to make it so that if my starter is going 7 innings to the game, I want to know that the 8th and 9th are taken care of. I want to know, okay, I'm handing it off to this guy, and then it goes to David Bednar or somebody else. So I think that just is probably storyline 1 or 2 behind getting a catcher. And obviously, to rotate over to that, Austin Wells these last 2 games hits 2 home runs, and you're thinking, holy shit, is this guy back? Pump the brakes on that a little bit. I do believe that if he can continue to hit, continue to prove that he's valuable to this team, because he's such a great catcher, they might just want to keep him, and they might not want to make a move for a catcher. But that's only if he can keep hitting well, obviously, these next 2 games, and then after that, all the way up to the trade deadline. He's got to prove himself, both to this front office and to the manager, Aaron Boone, to say, hey, I'm deserving of this starting spot. I don't know how he's going to do it. He's got to hit like 400 over that stretch. But you know that the Yankees, as soon as you see a little glimmer of hope with one of the guys that have been in their system, that they'll trust them and that they'll go to him. You've obviously seen that with Volpe many times. You've seen it with Austin Wells in the past too. So, trusting him, trusting their development system, I think is where the Yankees would lean if Austin Wells was able to really heat up a little bit. And obviously the 2 home runs is a great start, but it's got to be more than just that. Like another great thing, obviously we talked about Cody Bellinger in the last episode, Goldschmidt as well, not really hitting great. Both of them multi-hit games yesterday. Really just a great performance all around, 13 hits for the team, so you can't complain on that front. And I do think that for this Yankee team going forward, there were so many games in this 3-week stretch where they had 1, 3, 2, 4, that kind of range of hits where they weren't putting the ball in play. But more importantly than that, the Yankees are a team built on on-base percentage, built on the ability to get on, to draw a walk, to make pitchers throw a lot of pitches, get the starter out in the 5th inning, the 6th inning. That's how they win baseball games. It's easier with Aaron Judge in the lineup, point blank period, but I do think when you kind of look at it as a whole, that without him in the lineup, these guys, they've stepped up a little bit, but not enough. And obviously drawing walks, having long at-bats, we haven't seen that over the last 3 weeks. So it was a good reflection, step back into the norm for the Yankees this last game, and hopefully moving forward as well, they can continue to build on this momentum, because it's really important that they go into this All-Star break on a winning streak. And I do believe whether it's them winning 2 out of 3 against the Nationals, but ideally a sweep for me would do it, because 4 games in a row, you're kind of cementing yourself, okay, we've fallen back in line with who we believe that we are. And I do believe that the Yankees are a top 3 team in the league. Both talent-wise and also just when they go out on the field, the star power that they have, I do think that means something. I do think that when you're an opponent and you look and you say, hey, there's Aaron Judge, hey, there's Cody Bellinger, hey, there's Paul Goldschmidt, even though he's old, hey, there's Jazz Chisholm, these are names. These are names. And I do think while it means a lot less than it used to, I do think it still means something as far as the psyche of other players, especially if you're a hitter and you're going up and you're seeing Max Fried or Garrett Cole or Cam Schlittler, you see those guys on the mound, there is a little bit of a fear factor, right? So play into that a little bit. Play into we're the bad boy Yankees, right? We're the people who are going to come in, we're going to beat you 6-0, we're going to get out of Dodge, we're going to get out of town, and then we're just going to go and run through the rest of the league. Because with how this American League is constructed right now, the Rays are the only threat. They're the only other team that's playing competent baseball at this time, and they're playing better than the Yankees. So the Yankees are, it's strange because just if you asked me a week ago, I would have said this season could be in real jeopardy. But after this last week of, obviously they're 3-2 in their last 5 games, holy, but Cam Schlittler had that dominant performance. Hopefully he can do it again tonight. And then the comeback against the Rays, and now the comeback against the Nationals, those are 2 great wins back-to-back. So I believe that this team going forward can be something special. I said it in the last episode, I do believe this is the most talented roster that the Yankees have had in the Aaron Judge era. And I'll stand by that because the starting pitching is so strong and because they brought back a lot of guys who are really elite players. If you think about it, how many lineups can you say have guys who are consistently going to hit over 20 home runs, who are consistently going to hit over 250 to 260 to 270? The Yankees can say that. So I do believe that they're in a good spot, that they've put themselves in a position now to come out of this rut that they've been in, and hopefully they can do it against the Nationals here these next 2 games, because it's really crucial that they go into this All-Star break strong. Cam Schlittler gets the ball tonight against Miles Michaelis. Got to have another elite performance. No other way to put it. I'd love to see him go 9 innings, but we know that's not going to happen. But in reality, 7 innings strong, 1 run would be just a great performance. Again, hold down the fort. The Yankees lineup, if they can't win with 1 run, they don't deserve to be in a game. They don't deserve to be playing baseball. They don't deserve to be in this season. So Cam Schlittler, ride him all the way to victory, in my opinion, tonight. And then tomorrow you got Will Warren. Should be interesting because he's had a couple bad starts recently. Can he bounce back? Nationals are actually a decent team this year, so it's going to be a good test for him to see how he fares against, a mid to upper tier team and what he can do in a situation like that. So once again, looking at the future, I think the future is bright. I do think there's a lot of good coming forward for the Yankees. They still are obviously looking forward to Fried coming back, Judge coming back. But if we just look at this last week's sample size, it's been so much better than the 2 weeks, 3 weeks before it. So you have to be excited. You have to be like, okay, the season is back on. Because there was a point where we didn't think that was going to be the case. So Yankees fans, we can relax a little bit. We can say everything's going to be okay. But that has been Yankees in 10, everybody. Brought to you by Mike and V Sports Talk.